Okay. I said I'd be back eventually, and in fairness, midday is not too bad. I just had stuff this morning overrun, but it is what it is. So, the plan now is to test stuff. So I'm gonna move other random stuff that I was working on. I say move, put somewhere slightly different that isn't, you know, where I need to be immediately. Yeah, I should technically take this back indoors, but fine, it can live there. So, plan is test stuff. Because I want to get armor off of Boris onto my new doohickey, but I need to make the base more solid before I do that, because it spins and is annoying. So, in the meantime, I want to test this. Yes, this. This is a wood burner that I have never used, that I bought as an impulse in Hobbycraft a while ago, which is reasonably typical of me, if I'm honest. But I think it may actually come in handy, because I can engrave some stuff onto my phone with this thing, in theory. So long as it doesn't, like, blow up as soon as I plug it in. Because it might. I don't know. Instructions came with it. I no longer have them, because it seems fairly self-explanatory. And actually, there's an attachment on here that might be perfect for my applications. So let's assume that's the case. Because I'm eyeballing it and I'm thinking, yeah, you would be good. Yes. Okay. Let's assume it is. And it came with a crummy little plastic stand. So in theory, I won't burn other things while it's on. Doesn't look to have any settings on it, so I guess it's just a plug and play job. I have little spanners and stuff so I can fit the attachments on, courtesy of having various Dremel bits. I was going to say I would have picked the one box that doesn't have a spanner in it, but I'm fine. I got it. So, presumably, I just loosen this off, and then I can get in at this. Presumably. Unless it's just been done up tight for no reason. Kinda, yeah. Okay. That's fine. So, my thinking here is it spin? Do I pull it? I don't actually know what's in here, so, Ah. That seems like it's not meant to happen. This is the part where I should have kept the instructions and not just, like, yanked at it. Yeah, this feels like it's not something that's meant to come out of here. So maybe I've already scuppered my plans a bit with this. But then I don't understand how. Okay, this wire is, like, actually just out. Okay, well, now you have all been witness to me ruining something live. Now this is dumb. Okay, this is I accept things can be my fault. But also, this attachment just isn't coming off. Like, what? Oh, oh, oh. But then why put the screw in there? That doesn't make any sense. Okay, I still choose to believe that this is not entirely my fault. but it might be about to become my fault. Because, I don't know, am I going to set something on fire if I put this back in here? I feel like I will. Do I accept an L on this one? Because I get the horrible feeling that if I try and plug this in now, it's going to be really, really bad. Okay. So that would have been a really good idea. But it would seem that... Because I could wrap it around the outside, but I have a horrible feeling that that would be a really dumb idea. So I'm just gonna not use this anymore. Look, okay. In my defense, there was absolutely no way that I could know that was how it was gonna go. Like, zero. There was no indication, because you could undo the screw. So there's why do that? Why have that as a feature if it's not meant to happen? I am putting this down to a design flaw, and I refuse to take responsibility for it. Must be like a soldering iron in here or something, right? Something like that. But this can do one, I guess. Great. Cool. Thanks, Hobbycraft. I choose to blame you and not me. Even these, though. These feel useful. But the thing itself, I think, is now just a massive hazard. So actually, screw you. If I'm breaking this, I'm keeping the parts from it. Because I can probably just pick up another one for pennies. Who cares? Can I even take this off of here? I feel like the answer is probably no. Also, if this is meant to get hot, I'm concerned, because it's just strips of flimsy stuff. Nah, I don't know what any of this is, so I'm just gonna bin the whole... because... Cool. Alright. I'm not even 10 minutes in, and I've already ruined my own plans. That's pretty epic. Alright. Alright. New plan. If a soldering iron exists, I can use it. But otherwise, do I just Dremel it? Because that was my original plan, was Dremel, but then dust exists, and I didn't want to run the extractor early in the morning. So now I'm just kind of like, midday, I can run an extractor, who cares? Maybe that's all I do, and I just use the Dremel, because the Dremel is reliable and not designed stupidly. I am still choosing to refuse to take this L. For as long as I can get away with it, I refuse to take this L. Future me can watch this back and cringe. I do not care. Not at the minute. Right. Dremel. Sod it. Dremel, sod it, but also dust, and also... So if I can... Where's that tube going? It's going to where I'm not, so it should be fine. But it's worth checking, I suppose. Okay. Extractor exists. And is here. And just needs to be plugged in, which is fine. Assuming one of the plugs is free. Yeah, that reaches. We're fine. We're fine. Everything reaches just fine. I just might have to swap what my phone's plugged into. Make sure I don't unplug my laptop, because then everything will go dark. Let me stick this in here. Ooh, I'm good at this. No, okay, right. Bear with me. Bear with me. Let me cook. Stop. It's because it's not on all 3 bloody feet. That's why. It's choosing to complain about it. Right. Okay. I'm going to move that blade away from the cables because I don't trust me right now. Okay. Is that still plugged in and charging? Yes. Then, in theory, I can't see the switch. Can I just... Let me just... Yeah, alright. How loud is that? I feel like it's okay. Alright. That appears to work. So I choose to roll with it. Oh, but then I've got nowhere to put the gremlin. To unplug my phone. It's only on 30-odd%. Ugh. Right, hang on. Bear with. Let me cook. Ideas exist. I just have to use... Right. I can unplug my phone while I'm dealing with this. That's fine. But before I do that, let me cut some foam, because, you know, I'm going to need that. So, back to the original point of this exercise. I want to test some samples. That's what I want to do. So I want to take some crummy offcuts that I have of foam and use them as test samples. So I can probably halve that and say that's reasonable. That'd be enough to test what I need. So I want to do heat sealed, and then nothing done to it, and then one sealed after that. Right. Let me explain my ramblings. So the idea here is to test samples of foam and check to see what combination of techniques gives the best results. So what I'm going to do is have various methods for each offcut and label them on the back so I know what's what. So if I say this one then already seems quite dense is the thing. Is that a fair comparison? Yeah, it should be fair enough. Let's say this one. Let's say this one is no heat gun. So no heat gun. And what else did I say? Right, no heat gun, and then this one can be heat gun free wall. And then this can be... These big enough? Probably, but even so... I've got more, so let's just be bigger ones so I can actually check the stuff. This can be heat gun post. So I need those, that, and that. And then as far as mold release, right, I feel like I am just babbling without actually explaining what I'm trying to do here. So, the idea... Why is one of my cameras frozen? Please, not again. No. Why? No. This is so unfair. Come on. Right, hang on. Hang on. Everyone bear with me whilst I refuse to surrender. So mad. So mad that I wrecked my bloody... It's fine. Everything's fine. I can work with this. Why? Please, I beg you, just work. Just work. Ah, ha, 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 ha. Okay. Alright. Let me try this again. The premise is to test how everything's going to cast, essentially. So, my end goal is to have my entire armor set made out of fiberglass. If I'm going to do that, I want to be able to mold and cast different components. But if I want to make the base in foam, because it's quicker than sculpting from scratch, right? Then I need to see how well that's actually going to work before I commit to it. I know I've already committed to this, but if I need to cover this in plasticine, I don't care that much. It's just an extra step that I'd rather not have to take. So, I'm going to check and see whether heat sealing stuff with my heat gun first before I carve things gives a better, like, carve line, or if it's better to heat gun it after I've carved stuff, and then check and see how things mold versus heat sealing and not, and you get the picture. So, yeah, that's the plan. So that's nothing. That's before carving. So, heat and post. And then I also want to test different mold releases that I have. So if I say no heat gun and mac wax for all of these. So I'm not expecting that to be enough. I'm expecting to need to use actual, like, beeswax. So 1, 2, 3, and then I'm gonna say heat gun 3, and then ease/PVA mold release. So I've got the option. So heat gun pre, and then heat gun post, and then ease/PVA, and then no heat gun, ease/PVA. Okay. Then I will carve some stuff based on what I've set for each of these. Does it matter what I carve? Maybe a bit. We'll see. But to do this, I will have to unplug my phone and hope it doesn't die. Which is... Yeah, I got, in fairness, 35% is not the worst. And if all I'm doing from it is playing music reasonably low and reading chat, it's probably fine. This is cope, but it's probably fine. Okay. So... how am I going to get the Dremel out of here without knocking the cameras? Literally holding my breath. But it's fine. Have the thing. Now I have no idea whether any of this is going to end up coming across on stream. It probably will. And if it's really loud and obnoxious, I apologize. My options are slightly limited on that front. Okay. Dremel is plugged in. This will be turned on. So, This requires a heat gun. 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 So neither of these immediately require heat guns. Epic. Let's do that then. What bit do I currently have in here? I don't expect that to do a whole bunch. I'm probably going to swap that out. What other bits have I got? I don't want to use... It's going to make such a mess. It's going to suck. Would have been so good to have the wood burner, but I'm an idiot. Okay. Let me see what's in my little thing. Nothing of immediate use. Do I not have the one that I'm thinking of? Oh yeah, no, it is in here. I thought it would be. This one. I want to try and use this one. And I'm going to pray that it works, because the other option is to use the one that literally tears out chunks, and I would rather avoid that. If I can avoid that, it is my preference to avoid that. So you know. Okay. Now, out of interest. Okay. Alright. Might get away with that. The main thing I'm worried about is, will the mic pick all of this up? Because it might. Now, I have been using, like, crummy medical masks for dust masks since COVID. And, I'm not particularly worried about dust because this exists. So, I choose to believe this is fine, really. It's also better than nothing, so... Okay. Now... moment of truth. Can I do much with any of this as a setup? Can I hang this from something so I'm less annoyed by it? No? Okay, that's fine. It's fine. Let's see if this ends up going horribly. Can't get the angle on that. That's considerably better. Smooth. Alright, well... I don't enjoy using that bit for it. That is for sure. I do think burning this is going to be a lot nicer. So maybe I will have to take the L on having just wrecked my thing and acquire a new one. I still like the idea of using a soldering iron. Something spicy. Something warm. Unless... I feel like that's really dangerous and will take me ages. What if I made this toasty? This feels like an awful, awful, awful idea. Surely it'll just bend, right? Like, I won't actually be able to engrave anything with it, it'll just bend. And I'd have to wrap it in something so I don't burn myself. This is just a bad idea. This is just a bad idea. I just wish I hated it more than I do. Maybe I can do something better with this. No, not even slightly. Okay, fair enough. Do I concede and go for the one that rips things? Because I'm feeling like I might have to concede and go for the one that rips things. I feel like that might end up actually being the least destructive one. Let me see. Because at least I can test different bits with these as well. So this is... what am I going to call this? I'm going to call this... I suppose I could just draw what the bit looks like. Just looks a little bit sus. There. Now, future me knows what I used to make these god-awful marks. Right, and then that's got no heat gun, so that can just chill. Then, this one is also no heat gun. So, let me take this off. Hello, working to have to lurk in the shadows, but just wanted to say hi, and I'm here and I'm watching, even if I'm not chatting. Hello. You've come just in time to watch me ruin everything. I'm really having a time here. I accidentally managed to dismantle a wood burner that I hadn't even got to use yet. So that was fairly impressive. But oh well. Something about living and learning, probably. Anyways, let me see if this is gonna be any better. Okay, so it is considerably better using this bit. Like, night and day better. But it's also way dustier. Interesting, man. Yeah, that is way better to use. It just makes more of a mess. Well, kind of. Okay. What am I going to call this bit? I'll just call it... I'm going to call it the shredder bit, because that's how I view that. Cool, okay. then I've tested those, and then heat gun pre I will keep to one side. That is heat gun post, so I have to draw on it first and then seal it. So these I will leave out the way for a minute. I'll then deal with this again. Definitely my preferred Dremel bit. No shot. Right. So now, technically I should swap out the Dremel bit, even though I really don't want to. Maybe I try one that isn't Domi one. Maybe I try one of these instead. I don't think it's going to work, but I'll try it anyway. Where's my spanner? Oh, put it back. Okay, fair enough. Okay. Let's see whether this works. I'm hoping. Hoping it does. Okay. Ooh. Okay, well, that one was interesting. That one was nicer to do, like, curved corners on, but is also pretty faint compared to the others, so it depends whether it survives everything else as to whether it is actually useful to me or not. We'll see. Now the rest requires heat gunning, so this is all no heat gun at all. These are heat gun post, and these ones are heat gun before doing things and stuff. Which means I need to get the heat gun and open the door, get on the floor, everybody walk the dinosaur. Where is the heat gun? It's in a drawer. Hang on. Oh, is it in the drawer that's right next to my laptop? Of course it is. Of course it is. The cameras are going to freak out. Do this. How am I going to do this without the cameras losing their minds? Right. One. Yes. Right. Heat gun acquired, but I am going to have to go deal with this down the other end of the garage by the door because fumes exist, and I'm not dealing with that. I'm not currently in a respirator, so under no circumstances am I dealing with that. Even for these tiny pieces. Nah, nah, nah. As such, I shall be doing the heat gunning over here. Plus, I'm going to need a plug socket, and this is the only one I have. You know. Okay. So, the light level is going to change. Ah, hello. Fine, I just have to heat gun some stuff, hence the door is open. Yeah.
Do you want to put that there?
Yeah, I was going to prop the door open. Yeah, no, that's fine. I'm just gonna, you know, do that. It's fine, my nan's just chilling. Right, this was that. Heat gun, heat gun. Heat gun, heat gun. Yes, right. I'm going to go do this. Try and not accost anyone with a gun in the meantime. I'm not talking much because I'm concentrating. So, don't mind me. I also can't see chat, so it's not a lot of point. Okay. Heat gunning. Temporarily. Contended with. Let me close the door again. Right. So... I now have some things and stuff. Cameras are still working, that's a plus. So, I have heat gunned these. And because it closes the cells on the foam, I was expecting it to make the lines look nicer, and compared to how they started, it does. They still look pretty crummy, but I'm not remotely surprised, so it's fine. These, yeah, okay. So there's that. And then I'm going to see whether having sealed it first makes these lines any nicer. So I'll start with this bit since I've got it in here, and then I'll swap out to the shredder because I kind of liked that better. Debating whether I change this one out for any of the others. I feel like all the others are going to be too fine. Having said that, this one looks pretty nice. Let me see. Let me swap this one out for this, because I'm still leaning toward the shredder just because of how much it kind of gets through stuff. So let me see. Let me see, because this might be great. So who knows? Give it a go. Right. Whack this on again. See how lucky I get. Oh yeah, that doesn't mean nothing. That's... then it's quite specific. Don't think I'll be able to get a consistent line with that. It was worth a go. No, it's one of those, I'm not sure whether it just looks better because I've already sealed the foam beforehand. So I'm going to assume that's the reason. And I'm going to swap it back out for... No, that didn't work. Let's swap it out for the long boy. Come to me. Because I liked this one. But I like the shredder more. So let's see. So here's the thing with this one. It's nice at points, but it does just tear everything up. But I don't know whether I'm going to be able to avoid that with this. Which is why I was reluctant to Dremel things in the first place. But then I can always, no, I don't know, I feel like I end up giving myself more work by not doing it nicely from the beginning, you know? So this was the shredder. Let me try the shredder on the pre-gunned bit. Because if that doesn't work, then there is a pretty high likelihood that I'm just going to have to order myself a new wood burner. Because I think that's just going to be the less messy option. And was the original intent before I ruined it. Stupid design, though. I stand by it being a stupid design. I am beginning to accept I'm also an idiot, but it was still a stupid design. So, whatever. Anyway, here's Wonderwall. It's definitely the Shredder. The Shredder is just the best one. It just is. The Shredder and the pre-sealed. Definitely. Judging by all of these, this was the heat gunned before. These are both heat gunned beforehand and then carved. These are both heat gunned after the fact. So post, post, pre and pre. Lol. So that's not a massive amount of difference. I think that's just because I went over it more, which is fair enough. So maybe I can do both. Maybe I can do it beforehand and after the fact, and it'll be even less yucky. Because yeah, but this uses different bits as well, which is just kind of unfair. So okay. And then that's Mac Wax, that's Mac Wax, and these were the ones that were ripped to shreds before any heat gunning, so that's definitely not going to be a thing. And then these were spares. Fine. Okay, so I have these. Then what I'm going to need to do is actually use my respirator anyway. Because I want to silicon mold over the top of these just to see what kind of detail comes through. So Mac Wax, and Mac Wax as a release agent. And then this can be the Beeswax PVA combo. Epic. Right. So, I'm gonna have to get the Dremel out the way. Respirator will be on my face. Do I hang this back up for now? Can't imagine I'm gonna be using it again for a while. Because the plan is basically just to get all of these sample bits set up today. So that I can leave it. Oh god, where's the pin? It's all the way over here. It's fine. But yeah. Set all the samples so that I can leave it overnight to vibe. So that by the time I'm up and about early hours tomorrow, I can demold stuff and see what has and hasn't worked. Or I suppose what has worked to what capacity. Because, you know, will probably all work to some extent. It's just whether that extent is okay. So, I am going to whack my respirator on so that I can mix up some silicone and hope to high hell that it is still good to use because it's been sat around for a while. Yeah. Forethought. Epic. Right. Let me take this off my face. Ugh. Probably grab a drink before I subject myself to respirator face. So it's a whole thing. It's get a little toasty. Right. No, I have just put new filters on this. I have decided it would be smart to start writing the date on them when I do that. So I know once 6 months have passed, I need to change my filters. I still have the old set. Don't know why. I don't like getting rid of things. Alright, let me take this off for a second. Just back the mic. I've got no idea how well I'll be heard through this, but also, no. It is what it is. Really. How on earth have I got it tagged? Understand. What have I done? Made it better or worse? Oh no, I think I fixed it. I believe that's fixed it. Right. Okay. I'm still audible. It's just whether or not it sounds terrible, I guess. So, now, frustratingly, I'd like to open the door, but there's extra ventilation in here. However, there is a lawnmower that is going on outside currently. So I'm going to go ahead and not do that. Also, going to not wear my headphones for a bit, because I kind of want to be able to hear how bad I sound through the mic, etc. So, first things first, gloves. then I gotta figure out the most sensible way of molding these. They're pretty shallow. So if I had a load of Lego bricks, I'd use Lego bricks and just build a little wall. As it stands, I do not have that. So, okay. I suppose actually what I could do is a little studio engineering, my hard-rocking amigo. Depends whether they fit in there. If they do, then that would be huge. Let's see. I think I have a plan. It's a dumb plan, but it's a plan nonetheless. I think what I can do is make my own little makeshift tray, I suppose. So I've got plenty of plastic kicking about. So, ooh, actually, that's an even bigger brain. Yeah, alright, you know what? Cogs are whirring, ideas are forming, I think I know what I'm going to do. I have bin liners. Eminently practical. So, what I'm going to do with these is I have... This is so dumb. So, I have a few lids from a few containers that I acquired through perfectly legitimate means. And if I were to take these lids and put bin liners in them, I can create a surface that is releasable. And everything will be fine. I'd use cling film, but also cling film is kind of too good for this. You know? Like, for what this is, this does not need to be even vaguely professional. Yeah, that works fine. Just a little tray. That works out completely fine. I see nothing wrong with this, personally. I think this is completely reasonable. Why not? Depends how thick these are, I guess. Alright, this is matte wax, so... Alright. I choose to believe I'm a genius. I have to keep reminding myself that this would have all been much easier if I hadn't broken my bloody wood burner. I did. I check myself. Anytime I'm happy with something, I've got to remind myself I'm an idiot.
Alright. Yeah, that's fine. That is completely fine. Okay, huge. Now, I just have to find the other containers and do exactly the same thing. If it wasn't already obvious that I don't usually test stuff, this should be the indicator. To be honest. That's better. I don't care if it sticks up particularly. As long as it does the thing. And realistically, I am unbothered. Will you fit in here? Just about, yeah. And another one. Then I will need another. So many random boxes of stuff. It might need to be a bit bigger than this. Yeah, otherwise that's going to be annoying. Alright, fair enough. Fair enough. Thought I could get away being conservative with it, but no. I guess. Don't really need to tape any of it down, but also if it stops it flying about, then I'm kind of okay with it, you know. Objectively, it doesn't matter, but it's also going to bother me. So, you know, swings and roundabouts, I guess. Okay. So these are all of the Mac wax pieces. So all I shall be doing to those is spraying them with Mac wax and seeing what happens. Fully expecting everything to stick. To be honest, I think it's going to be a nightmare. And these will also need things done to them. But they are a different set of things and stuff. Do I have enough lids to do the others? I should. Should. I got one here. Where do I put anything? Almost like I didn't think this through. That's fine enough. And this is for the bees. Beeswax and PVA mold release, which I think will be the way to go, but I'm going to test it anyway. So there's one of those, and then I need another 2 lids. There are another 2 lids. Alright. Also going to need to cut more bin liner. I appreciate I kind of whacked on the respirator before I needed to. But, you know what? I have very few regrets around that at current. Can't say I'm all too phased. Yada yada, safe, sorry, yada yada. You know. Let's just use that one piece. Screw it. Don't want to make my life any more difficult than it has to be. It's a massive lie. But oh well. Right. Take that, smush that, take another thing. That's then in there, which is good enough. Then this can go in here. Let's set up another one. And then I need one more lid, which is over here, because I saw it. I definitely just broke that box. Don't worry about it. It's fine. And then one more fragment of bin liner, unless I can use the 2 bits to make one thing. Maybe. Maybe I can. In fairness, can I get away with the 1? I can potentially get away with the 1. Yeah, kinda. I kinda can. Alright, cool. Epic. I'll go with that. Alright. It ain't perfect. None of it is. Who cares? I'm gonna have to tape them down, because otherwise I'm gonna get silicone run under the thing, and that is just not it. Ooh, I have a tape dispenser. It's fine. Never mind. Never mind. Right. So, all of these are Mac wax. You even going to stick to this? Because you might not. Stick to me. You're gonna really stick to me. Something tells me this is going to go as well as I'm expecting it. Still better than not. I'm expecting there to be some, like, undercuts, but it genuinely doesn't matter. Really, really doesn't. Not even a little. Again, I feel like I've preempted the gloves as well, and this is now making everything difficult. For no good reason. Stop, please. I just need you to do the thing, that's it. That's all I ask. No, I don't care. I am realistically unbothered. It's just better than not doing it. I don't usually put this much effort into testing anything, so realistically, any effort that I put in, I'm treating as an absolute win. That's going to be carnage. Carnage, but I don't care. So, respirators. So one thing I always do with my respirator before I start doing anything with it is, like, I get in frame. Hello. Ignore my hair. One thing I always do is I will check and see whether it's actually fitting properly. So the way I do that is based on the seal it makes. And to check that, I will try to breathe whilst covering the holes in the filter. If I plug these and then try to breathe in, it's not having it. And that's how I know I'm good to breathe through the rest of this. Because if I could get air in anywhere else, then problem. But I can't, so hooray. Now you know how to kill someone wearing a respirator. Silicon is down here somewhere. In my big old box. As are my mixing cups. And hopefully my scales are in here too. But I get the feeling I took those indoors. So they might not be here. Oh, the Mac waxes though. Huge. Mac wax mixing sticks. Have I got one that I've been using? Oh yeah, that's okay. This is definitely the in-use one. And this silicone is definitely one that I've started already. So I shall try and use this. Now, I can probably get away with opening the door now. The lawnmower has stopped. As long as no one takes it as a direct invitation, because it isn't. Okay, door is open. Lighting has probably shifted, but that's probably fine. I don't want to be spraying stuff. You know what? I don't have anything. I'm not even super sure where that went. Oh no, I can see it. Never mind. I'm lying. Come here. No. Okay. Right. Got it. Fine. Anyway, back to my original point. I don't like spraying stuff without having a door open somewhere. It's just not cool. So I'm gonna go ahead and just spray these toward the open door over here. I always figure several passes is probably better than, you know, too few. I'm hoping this is the one I haven't done already. Yeah, no, it definitely is, because those are white looking. Right. Okay. And silicon is definitely getting in under here, but I can cut it out afterwards. I'm not phased. So that deals with all that. Then I have a cup. And instructions on a couple of bottles of stuff. That's all you need, baby. So if this was more high stakes than it is, I would use scales. I'm just gonna use the measurements on the side of my cup, to be honest. And its ratio's 10 to 1, alright. So if I did oh no, I'm an idiot. No, so it would be 200 would be but that's a lot. Is it a lot? So if that's 50, half of that will be 25. Hang on. And what are the increments for this? And 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Oh, so they're in 10 mil increments anyway. Okay, sod it. Then I'll do 100 and then 10. Yes. Right. Cool. It's fine. Figured it out. So I'm going to pour. I'm going to find where the camera's pointing. It's about here. I'm going to pour in roughly 100 mil, I assume. And then add catalyst after the fact. Just occurred to me how much stuff gets used for this. I'm slightly afraid. I've done slightly shy of the Hyundai, but also I'd kind of rather do slightly less, because this is a test, so who cares? Alright. And then, roughly, if I make it up to roughly the Hyundai from here anyway. Oop, that is definitely over. Okay. Cool. I should probably have shaken this up first as well. But it's been a while, alright? Go easy on me, it's been a while. That is definitely not gonna work. I'm just gonna add a whole bunch more. What could possibly go wrong with this? I see no issues here. None. Definitely. I'd also suggest wearing goggles for anyone that's particularly slapdash. I am not, but I'm still gonna put them on anyway, because I trust nothing and no one. So if I can get to my ears past this respirator, that's all. Close enough. As long as they stay on my face, I'm not bothered. And then I can cease caring quite as much. Feels pretty stiff. Nobody be weird. Alright. The only reason I bring it up is because I'm not sure whether the catalyst I poured in initially actually going to be particularly effective, because it was just kind of borderline clear. So I'm a little dubious over this, that's all. But as I say, it feels pretty stiff, so I think we'll be okay. Oh yeah, that is some stiff nonsense. It's a great color though. Alright. Let's watch this not work. Because that is exactly what I'm expecting. I'm expecting this to not work. I firmly believe that MAC wax will not be sufficient for my purposes. So, let's do some things and stuff. The bubbles are also a thing. Now, because this is literally a test, I'm not super pressed about bubbles. But starting from the middle typically helps with that. Typically. Of course, the loudest bike ever. Why not? Why would we not be super loud while I'm trying to do things? This is why I get up so early in the morning. I genuinely can't stand being around other people. No offense. Just when I'm trying to do something, you know. unless expressly invited, which streaming counts. So, yes, do whatever, it's fine. I've accepted my fate at this point. It's past 1 in the morning, so I've accepted that people are going to be in doing various and using various. I'll just be up early tomorrow to do stuff in relative peace. Yeah, definitely too much catalyst for this. That's fine. Doesn't matter. Not right now, at least. As I say, this is one of those things that I'm kind of setting up knowing it's going to fail, so markedly unbothered, realistically. Just gonna try and fill some of the gaps at least. At least pretend that I care. Well, okay, that's unfair. I do care. I'm more caring to prove a point, you know? Point being, I do not believe this is going to work. In fairness, I am kind of curious to see how much it can capture as far as details, etc. Because I'm not expecting a whole lot. I mean, it is, a super flimsy little layer of silicone anyway, so, I'm debating whether I plaster back it as well. But for these, probably not, because as I say, this is not how I would proceed on the real thing, particularly anyway. So, I might plaster back the other ones when I get to them. Because they are considerably more viable. So there you go. It is what it is. If nothing else, I get to muck about with silicone, which is kind of fun. It's been a while. The last time I did this was for a very large piece. And it's been some years since I did that, actually. They meaning to make more casts of it. Just whack them up online somewhere and sell a bunch, but also they're huge, so shipping is going to matter a lot. So, I don't know, it's kind of put me off ever viewing it, if I'm honest. We'll see. I might get round to it eventually, but that time is not now. Okay. Now, I don't think I'm going to bother scraping out a whole lot more out of here, because literally what's the point? Because for this, there kind of is none. Alright, on the plus side, I have 3 little trays of stuff. Good for me. Now, I'm going to do the same sort of thing for these, but first, I'm going to find the big boy mold releases. There's one. There's the second. Da-da-da. Supplied by a sponge, that's what I thought. Okay. Well, I have a sponge. I had a couple of sponges. How do I open you? The screwdriver, presumably. Come on. This one? That feels too small. There are other screwdrivers. Not you. Aha! You'll do. He says. Unless I'm just wrong. Really? Oh, no, it's thinking about it. Come on, you know you want to. I'd be better off with the smaller ones. One. So close. Nice. Alright. Big old thing of wax. Epic. What are the instructions on this? Flammable, no kidding. Wear protective stuff, no kidding. Yada yada yada. 5 to 7 thin, even coats. Or, counter proposal, I just kind of don't do that. I'm going to close this door again. I don't need it open, and it's annoying me now. Right. Do I have a cloth for this? Not really. Well, we'll see. I suppose I could use a new face mask, right? That's fabric. I feel like that counts. Yeah. Yeah, I choose to believe this counts. Alright, screw it. I'm gonna use this. Feels really stupid. Probably is. Right. So, let me, well, it's just wax. Good grief. Okay, cool. That's gonna get sunk into a lot of detail. So I'm probably gonna have to be fairly careful with it. Okay, that appears to be working. So guess I'll kind of do the same sort of thing with the others. In fairness, I don't have any, like, super fine details, so as far as losing anything in the process, I don't think I'm going to be honest. I think it's going to be alright. But I'm going to do this with a sponged PVA mold release on top. I think that's going to work out pretty well. In the grand scheme of things. Then at least once I've got the tests done and dusted and out the way, I can have a look at the results tomorrow. Pretend to be all scientific about it. And then go with what I was planning to do originally anyway. That's usually how these things work. I'm super anti-testing stuff. Okay, I'm super anti-testing stuff. I would much rather jump straight in, balls to the wall, and just see what happens. But I am required to be sensible. If nothing else, for the sake of a build book. So, just have to keep reminding myself, this is why I'm doing it. Because I'm meant to be doing things properly. The whole point of this. Okay. So that's a thing of that. Then I'm inclined to say that what I will actually do now is stipple some PVA mold release on top. So I had that box of sponges. This one? No. This one. Excellent. So I have a bunch of sponges, which is nice. Use with care, don't eat, drink, or smoke. Alright. Impressive. Ingestion. Huh. I'm not gonna drink it. Can you just tell me what to do with it, please? Right, whatever. Fine. Fine, I'll make it up. I'm pretty sure you just stipple it, so we'll see. Do I shake it first? Yeah, okay. Whatever. I'm just gonna assume you at least invert it a few times. Because with most things, you usually do, so I will just assume that to be the case. Now, from memory, just whack a little in there. And then take a sponge and just kind of go to town, I think. Don't actually know. Don't actually remember. I have watched this being done one time on something that wasn't foam. So, that's a thing. So, I mean, we'll see what happens. That's the whole motivation behind this entire project. This whole thing is just a Hail Mary, really. I feel like I'm doing all of this off cam and it's really unhelpful. Another one. Do I have to leave it to dry for a while? Like, what's the deal? Oh, I'm back. I don't know why I spent this whole time trying to avoid getting my hands wet. I'm literally in gloves. Who cares? I'm in gloves, goggles, and a respirator. Why have I been trying so hard not to get dirty? I don't know. I think it's just whatever you get used to be honest. And I'm so accustomed to working in like super confined spaces and having to be really careful with everything. But now I just kind of default to that, I guess. Ooh, this feels interesting. Strange. Okay. Well, I kinda don't really want to chuck the sponge away. Feel like I can probably keep it, right? If I just squeeze out the rest of this blue. It's alarmingly cold blue. Just yeet that back on there and assume it's fine. Now, I've got no idea how long you're meant to leave that to dry for. I'm going to assume at least a few minutes, right? At least. Is it going to be long enough if I start mixing up silicone now? Maybe. I can always pretend. Just checking I don't have any holes in my gloves. Everything appears to still be intact. Good. I hate the idea of getting anything actually on my skin and not knowing about it. Freaks me out. Tidy that up a little. Okay. So, I move all of these over here. These are already setting pretty quick. Good grief. Awesome. Alright, mad progress. As I say, I just want to have the samples done and ready for me to demold tomorrow. Then I can make my judgments depending on my findings. At least I can see how wet these still are. That one's definitely the best. So that'll be the first one. to faff with. Right. Similar shtick to before. Roughly the Hundy, and then accidentally dump too much catalyst in there. That is definitely part of the plan. At least I'll have, like, the whole of tomorrow morning to mess with this. Because today, I very much did not have that. Now, in fairness, if these are the ones I think are going to work, I might want to do a bit more. Just to make sure I have enough to cover everything I want it to. That's pretty much bang on the Hundy, so that's okay. That is okay. Now, I have learned from last time. I'm going to shake this time. Right. Then. Well, that is too much again. Alright. It's fine. Fine. I'm learning. Relearning, I suppose, technically. Still fine. Just mix in a bunch of chemicals in the garage with no doors open. That's fine. It's my first rodeo, and I don't intend for it to be my last. We'll see how lucky I get. That's just, it's fine. I jest, it's fine, it's fine. For the most part, I'm already thinking about the next steps. So, I'm distracting myself inadvertently by planning ahead. I think what the best viewpoint is for this. Probably that, right? That? No? Ish? Kinda. You can see all the unmixed silicon around the edges. Do you wanna, not have that? And I tend to start mixing it by, like, folding it rather than stirring it. Because if you stir it, you're just gonna splash it literally everywhere. Think of it like mixing eggs into a cake batter. Like, you just fling egg everywhere, right? Like, eventually, yeah, you go ham, but not to start with. And again, air bubbles are a thing to consider. So when it comes to pouring it, generally advised you just pour in the middle and let it spread. And then the bubbles, more or less, will take care of themselves. I'd love to have a degassing chamber. I currently can't justify that. If I ever do more with this stuff, then great, but given its majority passion project at the minute, kind of can't give a decent justification for that, Right. Let me address this one, because I think that was still wet. And that one was also still wet. But this one is fine. This one is fine. me just give that one of these. Right. I'm also kind of conscious of running out before I get to the other ones, so, you know. Yeah, you're most of the way there. I'll take that. I will take majority good. As for you, you're just gonna have to suck it up. Because I ain't got the time, to be honest. Not really. Not with the rate that this is stiffening. Gotta pour some more things in some more places on some of these other ones. I should really have put down a plastic sheet first to protect my cutting mat. I thought about it afterwards, and then concluded that it wasn't that big a deal. I'd just wait for it to cure and then peel it off later. Almost like I've done this before. Who knew? But you'd think I'd learn, right? I don't. I never do. And I'll never fill any of the gaps, like, directly. I'll put more stuff on top of what's already there and let it run into the gaps. And I believe that is the best way of avoiding trapping air in various places. To my knowledge, that is the strat. You also don't want to, like, touch any of it, drag any of it around. This corner is going to be more difficult because it's higher than the rest, so I'm going to kind of break my own rules a bit for this one. Just because I don't think it's going to reach if I don't get stuff up there, you know? Alright, how are we looking? This one's still a mess, but it's gradually getting better. Be good enough. Whack some more on these. Okay. Getting places. Not perfect, but I'm not a whole heap of phased. As far as test pieces, not bad. Not bad effort. Hopefully, by the time I get to demold them tomorrow, I can have some idea as to how feasible this whole operation will actually be. Because it may end up being the case that it's just way easier to have plasticine on top of the base structure and then sculpt into that, rather than mucking about with Dremels and wood burners and soldering irons or whatever. Maybe everything would just be a lot easier if I concede wax and plasticine on top. We'll see. We'll see. Because either way, I'll have the foam already with this, so I won't need to cut any nicer bits, which I would have to if I was just casting straight from foam. But we'll see. If this ends up looking just a disgusting mess, then yeah, okay, fair enough. I'll take the L. And just wax and plasticine on top. I'm already kind of leaning toward doing that anyway, if I'm honest. I know after all of this, really, but yes, I kind of am leaning toward that just because I feel like the finish is going to be better. Right, this kind of just doesn't want to even anymore. Is it really worth getting this final bit? Not a whole bunch. Right. Call it there. Whack that in there. Mop up my gloves a bit. Okay. So then, I have 3 Mac Wax, 3 beeswax slash PVA, and I'm going to take the goggles off because, vision. I should really clean those goggles. They've got so much crud on them, it's ridiculous. But I have somehow managed to execute that without making a massive mess. Which shocks me slightly. I thought I was going to leave trails of silicone everywhere. So, good for me, I guess. That's pretty okay. Still think I'm going to end up wanting to put plasticine on top of everything. We'll see. We'll see how these turn out. But I'm pretty sure that's going to be what I end up leaning toward. It's going to be way nicer to mold. And way nicer to carve as well. But that's loud. That's a future me decision. So for now, I shall leave these to do their thing. How long have I been going for? A couple hours? Almost on the dot. Sweet. Well, I'm going to leave the respirator on because chemicals. But I'm going to take the gloves off so that I can operate my laptop. And I know this is a short stream for me, but it is what it is. Unless I angle the camera and put things on here. No, I need to do the base first, that was it. Okay. I'm going to go and see whether I've got anything that I can make the base of this dummy stronger with. But I'm going to do that off stream because it might involve cement, and if it does, I need to ask where it is. So, yeah. Right. For now, I'm going to call it there. I shall come back to deal with these tomorrow, expecting it to just be awful. Realistically, that is what I'm expecting. I'm expecting it to be awful. Yeah. And then when it inevitably is, I will do what I wanted to do originally. Also, while I'm here, this exists. This is pretty dry now. It's still got a lot of flex in it, so it did exactly what I wanted it to do. And I will be using this as the base for the half mask that I plan to make. Yeah, that's a silly little side project. I just thought it's worth noting that that worked. But for now, I'm going to call this here. Probably go and locate some cement. My hands, jeez. Yeah, when I'm warm, my hands are the things that betray me. So don't worry about it. But I'm gonna possibly go mix up some cement, and I will catch you guys tomorrow morning at some point. Probably fairly early. Probably fairly early. But yeah. Anyways, that is it for now. A brief one from me for sure, but it is what it is. And I will catch you guys for more shenanigans tomorrow.